and welcome to the coffee chat with District 5370 District Governor Tracey Vavrek, District 5360 Kristin Rendell, and we're going to be talking tonight about the Volunteer Connects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask everybody to mute themselves and just communicate in the chat, and I'll try to keep track of the questions in the chat. And Tracey?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jim. Well, good evening, everyone. You just heard from Jim Ferguson, District Governor-elect for 5370, and it's an honor to have you join Kristin and myself this evening. On behalf of both clubs, we'd like to acknowledge that District 5370, or pardon me, on behalf of both districts, we acknowledge that District 5370 is located in the areas of Treaty 6, 8, and 11, plus the 11 nations under the Yukon Umbrella Final Agreement, and the clubs in District 5360 are on the ancestral lands of Treaty 4, 6, and 7. I'd like to begin by acknowledging with respect the history and the culture of the people with whom those Treaty 4, 6, 7, 8, and 11 and the Yukon Umbrella Final Agreement were signed, and the territories within we reside, and our responsibilities as treaty members. All the people here that are with us this evening and in the communities that we reside in are beneficiaries of this peace and of the Friendship Treaty. Today I call in from Grand Prairie, and I acknowledge the homeland of the many diverse First Nations and Métis peoples whose ancestors have walked this land since early time. And I am grateful to live, learn on the treaty territory of Treaty 8. Good evening, everyone. Again, it's an honor to have you join us. As we gather here today for a coffee chat, we're here in response to Rotary's response for a call of action. We know for more than 115 years, Rotary's people of action have used their passion, their energy, and their commitment to address some of the world's most pressing and persistent issues. During these unprecedented times, District 5360 and 5370 are working together to call on Rotarians who are able to safely give their time and talents in support of responding to COVID-19. I'd like to turn it over to my co-host, Kristin Rendell, District Governor, 5360. Welcome, Kristin, and your team from 5360. Over to you, Kristin.
Thank you so much, DG Tracey. This partnership that we're forming has been in the works probably for 1.5 to 2 years, talking about ways that we can work together as districts, because we're next door to each other. When Tracey and I met, we just hit it right off and talked about partnering right away and finding ways to connect, communicate, and collaborate with each other. And this is a really good start for some of that right now, because together we touch communities across Alberta, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, the Yukon, and Northwest Territories. And this volunteer center of Calgary through Propellus provides us this service called Volunteer Connector. This web platform connects volunteers with not-for-profit organizations to support communities. And by working together in partnership, Rotarians can engage in safe volunteering to support the efforts related to COVID. But even after the COVID threat diminishes, this will still be a very important way for Rotarians to seek out opportunities to volunteer and opportunities to obtain volunteers. So we're pretty excited about this launch today. It's not all hands-on, it is virtual volunteering as well. So I would like to introduce for you this evening one of our guest speakers. Tracey, did I cover that right? I got to ask you first.
Love it. Great work, Kristin.
So, just making sure. Guest speaker, Katie Dodd. Now, Katie Dodd is the Volunteer and Community Engagement Coordinator for Volunteer Connector, and she's going to talk about that organization with us today. Over to you, Katie.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Do I sound okay? Just sometimes have technical issues. So thank you for taking the time to be here, and thank you so much for having me. Before I begin, I just want to thank Alexis. Thank you for taking the time to reach out to us at the Volunteer Connector to inquire about working together. Without you taking that small step, we would not be here. So thank you very much. I also want to thank Kristin Lewis, who you will hear from shortly from the Government of Alberta, for also taking the time to be here today. I'm matching Kristin with everything that's happening in the world right now. Your workload is far from light. So thank you so much. It means a lot that you've found the time to be here. So with that said, today I'm going to talk a little bit about the Volunteer Connector and how it has evolved. I will then touch on the function of the platform and how you can use the tool to better serve our community needs around volunteerism. I only have a bit of time to share information, so I can only do a brief overview. So if you are able, please consider joining us on June 22nd, where I will do a full orientation of the platform. So the Volunteer Connector was created by the staff at the Volunteer Centre of Calgary, Propellus. Propellus has been operating for over 65 years. We are proudly one of the oldest charities in Calgary. We first became active after World War II when the need for volunteerism was very apparent. During this time, volunteer centres across Canada started appearing to help connect volunteers to those in great need. As a charity, we have continued to evolve based on the needs of the community. We were there in 1988 when the Olympics took Calgarians by storm and the volunteer spirit really became part of the Alberta culture. In the 1990s, we began to see that nonprofits needed help engaging volunteers in a meaningful way. So to support them, we started working one-on-one and side-by-side with our member organizations and citizens with a vision to help them achieve their missions and goals. Evolving and growing to meet our community needs around volunteerism has always been and will continue to be our #1 priority. Which is why in 2017, when we could see how rapidly the world was transforming due to digital technology, we knew it was crucial for us to assess our services to ensure we continue to serve the community needs around volunteer engagement. We did extensive research and concluded that transforming into a digital volunteer center was the best way to do this and support our community. Not only did we transform our services, but we also expanded beyond recruitment to include all the services of volunteer engagement. Over 65 years of experience is now available at your desk at any time through a simple digital platform called the Volunteer Connector. This website is easy to use, connects volunteers to organizations in a matter of seconds. The Volunteer Connector is constructed and tested by volunteers. As a volunteer center, this was very important to our team. We asked ourselves, how can we develop a tool that helps volunteers find opportunities that meet their needs and interests so that they can continue to help for years to come? We also recognize that 57% of the organizations throughout Alberta are 100% volunteer run. So creating a tool that makes this group's workload easier was essential. There is no other volunteer recruitment platform that is centered around the volunteer. This makes us really proud. In order to succeed in this area of work, we knew that collaboration and partnership were key. Many of the volunteer centers across Canada were seeing an increased demand in services, but a lack of resources. We knew that by providing our platform to volunteer centers at no cost, we could be freeing up their time to focus on other essential services, and we could expand faster and connect more volunteers to organizations. We proudly work alongside 21 regional partners across Canada, including the Government of Alberta. The Government of Alberta has been a supporter of our work for many years now, and the work we have been able to accomplish would not be possible without them. When COVID-19 hit, the province knew how important it was to connect citizens to citizens of Alberta. It was important for them to come together and serve those in need. They approached us to see if we could offer some support, which we really appreciated and admired, as it showed how much they too believed in partnership and collaboration. And this also meant that they were preventing the possibility of duplication and they were saving vital resources. Because we had already done the work to transform to a digital volunteer center, we were able to act quickly and provide them with what was required in order to create the Alberta Cares Connector, which is now the province-wide version of the Volunteer Connector. Kristin will speak about this more in a moment, but I just wanted to highlight this as it's a perfect example of why partnership and collaboration are key to the success in serving our communities. And this new partnership between Rotary and Volunteer Connector would not have happened without Rotary's awareness of the Alberta Cares Connector. Connecting volunteers to nonprofits and charities is vital work, and it has a huge impact. And this work is very important, and I'm incredibly proud to be a part of it. The Volunteer Connector is currently serving over 2,400 nonprofits and charities across Canada. So far this year, we have had over 1.1 million unique views on the platform from Canadians looking for ways to help. In 2019, the overall number was 1.2 million, so we're well on our way to surpassing that in 2020. This year, the Volunteer Connector has helped to, over 57,000 volunteers apply to 4,500 volunteer positions. I share these numbers with you all because they speak volumes about the people in our country. The generosity among Canadian citizens is a beautiful thing and something we should all be very, very proud of. Throughout the COVID-19 crisis, we have seen people adapting and moving quickly to ensure the needs of our communities are being met. Organizations that provide essential services move quickly to implement social distancing guidelines to keep their staff, volunteers, and communities safe. Organizations that aren't providing frontline services are reassessing their volunteer programs and positions and adapting them so that they can be virtual. Volunteers have been quick to accept the changes and adapted so that they can continue to help. With all the tragedy that is happening in the world today, it is important and essential for our own well-being to remember the beautiful humanitarian work that is happening all around us. It gives me so much hope for the future. People want to help one another. COVID-19 and volunteerism is such a great story of how we all respond as neighbors in moments of crisis and need. Okay, so now a little bit more about the Volunteer Connector. So for you Rotarians, there are two ways that you're going to be able to access the services on the Volunteer Connector. The first is as an individual looking to support your communities through volunteer efforts. From our research that we've done around volunteerism, we've learned that individuals expect to be volunteering within 1 month of beginning their search, but many organizations have a 6-month onboarding process. So this is a significant mismatch. So many of the features on the Volunteer Connector exist to help streamline this process so volunteers don't lose interest and motivation. So when you type in Volunteer Connector, you will immediately see active volunteer positions in your communities. This is extremely important to us. We do not want you to have to dig through the site to find volunteer positions. We want you to easily find volunteer positions, and then based on your interests and skills, you can tailor down the search results. Once you have found an opportunity of interest, you can apply to that organization within a matter of a minute or two. As a volunteer, you also have the option to track the positions you have applied for, the organizations you are interested in, and the hours you have contributed to organizations. And you can do this by creating a profile on the connector. This helps you save time and keeps you notified when new positions are posted. There are hundreds of opportunities on the Volunteer Connector, but today when I took a look, some of the positions that I saw included English language learning tutors, teaching seniors how to use technology, friendly virtual companions to seniors. There was farmers market, event support, and then the other one that I saw today was peer support to women identified individuals experiencing domestic abuse. So those are just a few of the examples out there right now, but there's many more out there and lots of opportunities for you to explore. And as organizations adapt to COVID-19 safety standards, we will start to see more positions on the site, and there will be an increased need for your help. But before you do begin volunteering, and I know this was touched on a little bit, but I want to just reiterate it, there are just a few things that you need to consider. So first and foremost, you have to ensure the position can be done safely. So to confirm this, go to the Government of Alberta's website and just ensure that all of the safety guidelines are being met. Secondly, you need to consider if volunteering works for your current situation and family. Do not do it if it's going to add additional stress to your life. We all know that the need for volunteering is not going to go anywhere. So if it doesn't work for you now, your help will be greatly appreciated when it does work for you. So the second way that you can use the Volunteer Connector is by creating a profile for your chapter. A profile acts as a micro website. It highlights all the amazing work you are doing in the community and directs people to your social media or main webpage. Once you have created a profile for your chapter, you can post unlimited volunteer positions. The Volunteer Connector search results are geolocated. So that means that when a volunteer is searching, they will see positions that are within a 50-kilometer radius to them. So considering there are already 1.1 million views on the site, you can see how this would be a great way to showcase the ways in which Rotary continues to support all of our communities across Canada. So as I mentioned, the platform is simple and easy to use for both volunteers and chapters. And on the 22nd of June, I will provide you with all the information you need to get the full benefits that the platform offers. And through events like this, we can help promote the platform and get more organizations using the site and more volunteers finding opportunities. If you are working with organizations that need volunteers, please feel free to direct them to us. If you are in a small community that does not have an online platform for volunteer recruitment, let us know. We are happy to help. The more people using the site, the better off all of our communities will be. So moving forward into the future, the connector, we will continue to invest in the Volunteer Connector to ensure that the technology is meeting our community needs around volunteer engagement, and we will continue to listen to our partners, members, and our volunteers' feedback and implement their suggestions into the system to make sure it's always improved. We will also continue to seek out opportunities to work together in a way that strengthens all of us and volunteerism across the country. We are open to any and all requests for partnership. And that's it. So thank you again to Rotary for this incredible opportunity. We are so excited to be working with all of you, and we really look forward to supporting your volunteerism journey. So thank you so much, everybody.
Katie, this is Tracey, Governor Tracey. Thank you so much for your tremendous detail and your overview today. You know, a couple pieces, when I think about the amount of volunteers that are already searching and looking and examining and exploring what their opportunities are, to have 1.2 million hits already this year is significant. And I would say part of that is from, well, we do know COVID. COVID's put us in a place where we desire to do more. And this partnership that we've developed with 5360 and 5370 and Volunteer Connect is all about helping to do more for our communities. Between both of our districts, we have over 4,000 volunteers available to pivot and do great things in communities that are fit within our districts. You know, and when we think about the concept of people wanting to help, that's what Rotary is built on service. And we are truly people of action that desire to do more, serve more, and to help our communities to the best capacity. It is an honor now to introduce our next guest. Our next guest is Kristin Lewis. Kristin is joining us. She is the Director of Not-for-Profit Voluntary Sector Policy and Strategy Unit with the Government of Alberta. That's a long title, Kristin. And Kristin, you know, it actually was as a result of your department that this conversation started. It was seen that the province of Alberta was looking at ways to help to inspire and engage our citizens to do more. And that was the nucleus of why Christine and I started this conversation. So having you with us this evening is an honor. Now, Kristin, I'm going to turn it over to you, for you can share with us from the Government of Alberta.
All right, thank you so much, Tracy. And again, I'll just do that quick sound check. Everything coming through okay? Okay, perfect, thank you so much. And so thank you so much for the opportunity as well. I feel very honored to be here and to be part of the announcement and opportunity to connect with the vast network of Rotarians in the Volunteer Connector, the Alberta Cares Connector partnership. And so I really do appreciate that, you know, Katie reached out to me and brought me in, and that we have the longstanding work that we've done with Propellus, but as well this kind of new opportunity arising as I've been able to connect with both you, Tracy, and Kristin, and Alexis as well, in actually getting a sense for this kind of opportunity and how the government can be part of it, or maybe how the government had an initial role in it. And so I just wanted to maybe do just a few quick remarks, which I don't want to take up all your time. But whenever it's with the nonprofit sector, in my role as the director of the Policy and Strategy Unit, and I appreciate that you tried that mouthful because it really is, because it's not only the nonprofit voluntary sector Policy and Strategy Unit. I work within the Community Engagement Branch of Alberta Culture, Multiculturalism, and Status of Women. I would love to see if anybody ever remembers that again, and nor do I expect you to. But let's just say I'm with Alberta Culture, and I get to work with the nonprofit sector in my work every day. And I absolutely love the role in terms of the fact that we get to, in essence, see how all of that direct connection is made at the ground floor with over 26,000 nonprofit organizations in Alberta, basically doing everything from what makes our community great: recreation, culture, sports, and supporting some of our most vulnerable communities. Somebody actually made a point to me the other day I thought was fantastic. Among many other things that have changed in life with COVID, you sure see the absence of the nonprofit sector when the doors got shut and we can no longer see our arts performances and go out to play our sports and our recreation, and then the presence of the nonprofit sector in our food banks and our homeless supports and a number of the other sort of direct supports in supporting our seniors and most vulnerable. So it is actually quite amazing and illuminating how much has come through at this point. And you know, I can't help but just throw a couple of stats at you about the sector in general, because I love this stuff, that literally Alberta can be so proud of the fact that I think Rotarians are a huge contribution in Alberta and across the country. But in Alberta alone, we have over 1.6 million volunteers, about half of our population formally volunteers, which is something we often celebrate at the provincial level. And that actually equates to over 262 million volunteer hours in a year and about 134,000 full-time job equivalent. And so when we actually look at the hard economic numbers, $5.6 billion a year in contribution from our volunteers, which we think is just something so incredible to actually make sure that we tell everybody who might be interested in knowing it. And so the Premier actually, you know, waded in on this and was actually very engaged with the idea of how do we do a call to action for volunteers, which happened on April 22nd. And so that was a big day for us when he actually did that rollout. And there were a number of components to it. And Katie's already talked about the volunteering safely guidelines. And so we released those, and they're on the alberta.ca website. And they're a really good thing to check around what's your comfort level, what are the expectations you can have as a volunteer, and how do you make sure that you protect yourself during this time? Because we're not necessarily just saying everybody should go out, run out there and volunteer no matter what, because there's lots of opportunities, virtual and otherwise, that aren't necessarily about being there in person, especially if you have any concerns. And now, of course, we're looking around, you know, masks and protective equipment and physical distancing that all should be put in place as much as possible in any kind of volunteer activity. But really, when we looked at how do we encourage Albertans to volunteer, it was actually kind of a no-brainer to say Propellus has an amazing platform that's already existing and that people are using and that it's offered province-wide to connect volunteers with opportunities and for organizations to be there as well as those volunteers. And so so we actually worked with Propellus very closely, and they were amazing to work with to be able to in essence rebrand, and rebrand might not be the right word. It was kind of our partnership name is the Alberta Cares Connector. And so in the background, Volunteer Connector was there first, and it's still there, and it will absolutely be powering all the data and the platform. And so whether you go through the alberta.ca site and alberta.ca/cares connector, or whether you go direct to Volunteer Connector, you're getting the same platform. But it's really that it was the government's push and support and endorsement for such an amazing tool that already existed for volunteering in the province. And I'm really actually so excited to tell you, since April 22nd, as we've been monitoring the stats and the announcement, and Tracey, this goes back to what you said about volunteers coming out. There are over 466,000 visits to the site since April 22nd. So almost 500,000 people have gone to view those opportunities since we rolled it out. And 3,600 actually volunteer applications. Those were actually profiles created with over 22,000 applications on positions since it rolled out. That's like a month and a half that all of that activity happened as people have responded to COVID. So we've just been so excited with the uptake and the response. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that part of that announcement was also the rollout of the Alberta Northern Lights Volunteer Recognition Program. So this is our kind of informal, we tried to make it really accessible, 300 words or less. You can go on and nominate somebody for doing an amazing job in our Alberta communities. And that it then is a program where the Premier is looking to celebrate and does meet weekly with one of the volunteers that we profile through the program. And that's on alberta.ca/Northern Lights Awards. And so I would encourage your fellow Rotarians that are doing amazing work, please submit us an application on there. And whether it's COVID related or not, we're doing COVID profiling right now, but we intend to go to something much larger very soon. And so right now with that, we received over 648 nominations from the time that it rolled out to now. And so we're actually just looking at how can we profile so many of these amazing nominations that we received, because we were just so excited about it. And so the last thing I thought I would just touch on really briefly is that most of you would have heard by now that as of Friday, we're entering phase 2 of the relaunch. And so I think as Alberta's going into the relaunch strategy phase 2, I think that also affects some of the ways that people can volunteer. And so it is opening up some of the restrictions in a number of the nonprofit organizations, especially in our recreation and sports and libraries that have been closed up to this point or have really gone virtual, can now potentially open up for their in-person. And so not only is there a critical need, and has been since the beginning, for a lot of supports that are COVID related in our vulnerable sector, we've now got a number of nonprofit organizations that are going to be looking for volunteers as they get going again. And so there's always a need for volunteers, but I think probably even more so right now, potentially even just to help organizations post opportunities, get back on their feet, be able to start their programs and services again that they were offering before, potentially in a different way. Because we know that life is not necessarily just going to be the same as it was before. So I think that's just sort of my spiel that I just wanted to kind of share some information, and really appreciated the opportunity to be part of this. And I think it's such an incredible thing to have have this network and this announcement with the partnership going forward. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristin. Wow, it's great insight as to how we can all be such strong partners together. For my district, I've been getting lots of requests from members and some clubs that have been struggling to find an opportunity to volunteer during this crisis. And speaking to the opportunities that are available at Volunteer Connector, it is pretty exciting because, you know, some people are vulnerable and they can't get out. They can't go out into community during this, not until everything's all clear. And so just from being at home on their computers or on their cell phones or tablets, they can log in here and find an opportunity to do something really good for someone. And what I really loved about it was being able to write letters for those who are alone and isolated. To me, that really makes a difference in someone's life to receive something. And especially if you're a really cool wordsmith, then you can work that magic, you know, that would be awesome. Getting clubs to do some friendly competition with this would be a lot of fun as well. If we get a club signed up, encourage another club to sign up, and then just start competing about getting some of those volunteer hours racked up, because Rotary also tracks hours of volunteerism. And we had a huge number come out last year. I think it was 850 million, or maybe it was billion. I don't know, Tracy, you can help me. For hours, and the dollar amount, they put a dollar amount on that too. It's incredible. But yeah, we still have a lot of Rotarians who aren't tracking their volunteer hours. And it would be awesome if they could start doing that, because that's very impactful. When a district is looking at the number of hours that its members have put in to help their communities. And, so yeah, I'm just so thankful that this partnership is coming together. So great. Thanks.
Kristin, thank you so much. And I echo your words as well. From District 5370, we as well were, as governor, I've had lots of questions. I've seen clubs examining, they've been pivoting, they've been looking at ways they can be involved. Rotarians finding innovative opportunities, but there were still a lot of questions coming out. And this relationship and partnership helps to align people with their interests in the community. This is a great opportunity. So if there's an interest that you desire to support seniors, or walking, maybe it's helping to walk animals like puppies, and those puppies are so cute, but you know, cuddling puppies and or whatever it might be, this is a great opportunity. So you know, the opportunity here is at whatever you desire as a club and as a Rotarian to reach into community. And when Kristin just spoke about the importance of phase 2 now, and the importance of the need for more Rotarians, it's bang on. We know Rotarians are looking for ways to help to respond to COVID, and we know the opportunities ahead of us are going to continue to increase for need. Now, I say that from my professional hat. I have been in the Community Foundation movement for just about 20 years, and the Community Foundation movement's all about strengthening communities. And we've been through other circumstances, not through a pandemic, but we've been through other disasters and other urgent areas in community. And we know right now we're in the urgent period. We also know we're going to go into the rebuilding and the recovery, and the rebuilding stage. And it's going to be through those periods of times, and as opening up, as Kristin said, in phase 2, where we're going to see a higher need in our communities for volunteers. And when Christine and I were having this discussion around this, we looked at how can we help our people? How can we help our Rotarians, and how can we help our communities? Because that's what Rotary is. We're people of action. We desire to continue to serve and to make a difference for others. So this partnership is new. It's a new partnership, and I do see there's a question that's come out on the chat around, has this happened before? You know, with 5370, do we have a prior relationship? We don't have a prior relationship. It is a new relationship, and as with every new relationship, we're learning together and we're working together. We're walking, I see it as we're walking side by side and moving forward together. So I see the value of what that represents for us as Rotarians, but I also see what it means for our communities, and not just in Alberta, but all of our districts. I want to also recognize Alexis, and Alexis, I believe you're on the line here. If you can give us a wave and even say a hello right now. And I'm also wondering if Hyder is here. Alexis and Hyder are our conduits from our districts. They are the people that have been on the ground working very, very hard with all the partners that you're seeing here today and with our districts to ensure that this partnership is solidified, is strong, and is going to be the best it can be for our district members. So, you know, a huge thank you to Alexis. You will get a chance to connect with Alexis. She is from 5370. She is going to be working with our district, and as well, you'll get a chance to connect with Hyder as well, with Christine, and working through 5360. They're both available, knowledgeable, and here on the ground, as I say, to help. So, you know, I'd like to now move it over to questions. I know there's questions. I can see there's a few questions coming forward, and I'm going to ask Jim to help us on those questions and help to move us forward here on guiding us through what's coming up from our beautiful people that are with us today.
Super. Thanks, Tracey. From Paul Gaudette, how long has 5370 been using this service?
So it is, thank you so much, Paul, for the question. It is a new service, as just mentioned, it's a new partnership. We have not prior used it. We're really excited for the opportunities, what comes forward with it. And, you know, Katie can speak to examples and things that have happened through the history. So maybe I'll move it over to Katie now. I think, yeah.
Sorry about that. What was the question? I just cut out for 1 second there. About partnership?
So from Paul, there's a couple of, well, he has 3 questions, but the first 2 is how long has the Rotary District 5370, which is our district, been using this service? And can we hear about some actual examples?
Oh, okay. Sorry, the examples of the volunteer positions on the site or partnership?
I think about the partnership, and I know that it's brand new, so.
So the partnership with Rotary is brand new, but we do have partnerships with 21 other communities throughout Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC, and even actually some on the East Coast. Most of our partners are volunteer centers, with the exception of Rotary and the Government of Alberta. Partnership is extremely important to us. We're happy to provide volunteer centers with the platform, but we also really want to ensure that people connect with their local volunteer centers or the people that are supporting them on the ground, because that's also very important. So I hope that answers the question.
Super. And Paul also has another question. Does Propel Us work with Calgary hubs?
No, I'm not familiar with actually Calgary hubs. We don't work with them as far as I know.
Okay, super.
But connect them to us, please.
Excellent. From Valerie, has either district developed a volunteer tracking app or database? And what is the time frame for June the 22nd orientation session?
I can answer the June 22nd question. So that will just be, it will not be any longer than an hour. And if someone is unable to make that date, just reach out to me and I'd be more than happy to go over that information with you personally.
I'll answer the question about the volunteer tracking hours. This is going to be a great way for us to do that. Rotary itself has its own tracking through our Rotary Club Central to track volunteer hours. It's underused. So we would find that this is a great way, once clubs and members are registered, to be able to find out that you know, the hours that they're putting in for these opportunities. So thank you for the question, Val.
Super. And the last one so far is from Margie. Are any nonprofits in Medicine Hat connected to the Volunteer Connector?
So we have a few individual organizations there, but we do not have a regional partner in Medicine Hat. So if you do know of an organization that would like to kind of host the site in that community, please let us know, because we've been trying to support that community more.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
And I'll just throw my email address in the chat box. I noticed that was a question. I think it was mine.
Okay, back to you, Tracey.
Great, Jim. Thank you so much. Really appreciate everyone that's come with us on the line today. And I just want to also recognize, Katie, you had also acknowledged Volunteer Alberta. And we have Jeanette here, who is the chair of Volunteer Alberta, that's also joining us online. And she's just set up her profile as well. So it's wonderful to have Jeanette join us. She is a fellow Rotarian and also a current president of one of our clubs in 5370. So as Jeanette just mentioned online, it's quite simple, easy to set up your profile. So, and you'll be talking further about that when we go into the next session on the 22nd. but really encourage people to explore it and see what the platform is about. So we have another question. I see Jim, a couple more.
Yeah.
Yeah, Margie's wondering about the time of presentation on June 22nd.
It's set up for 5 p.m.
Yep.
Alexis, do you want to come on with that? Do you have anything to add as well?
Yeah, I can pop the Zoom link into the chat for June 22nd, and would just encourage everyone to attend if they can make the time on their calendar. It'll be a great opportunity to get into the nuts and bolts of how this works, and we're really fortunate to have Katie lead us through a training session on that day.
Yeah, it'll be co-hosted by Hyder and Alexis and Katie, and I'm pretty excited for that date. We will also have the link out on our district website soon on the event calendar, and on Saturday's DG newsletter, District Governor newsletter, I will also have the link to register.
And ours will be included in our newsletter that goes out on Sunday. And Alexis, I believe we also have it going out through our social media on our Facebook group too, as well as the event.
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah, so perfect.
Good. And a question from Donna. Could a Rotary Club volunteer host the website in their community?
Yeah, so if there's not a regional partner in that community already, we could absolutely have that conversation, for sure.
Excellent, thank you. Tracy?
Well, wonderful. So this is our time for the last little bit of questions before we get ready to sign off. And it's wonderful. We've got so many people here that have joined us tonight. I see we're at 58 people that are online. So again, please bring forward any questions before we close off. One of the things that I do want to recognize, and this comes from both Christine and myself, is that we're really honored with this partnership. And we recognize this partnership as a pivot spot and a tool for you. And this is a great opportunity for you to broaden your reach as a member and as a club, and to work with this leading organization and also the province of Alberta. So when you think about the synergies of all of these partners and all of these key individuals coming together, all in support of helping our communities as we venture through COVID, but also as we move forward following COVID as well. So we really encourage you to reach out to all of your clubs and all of your members. Everyone that's on here today, please reach out to also friends. Invite others to be part of this. We know community is built on the sense of belonging, and when we volunteer, we know that our sense of belonging increases. And we also know our communities are healthier. So this is your opportunity to take a strong lead in helping rebuild Alberta and our other provinces through both of our districts. Again, encourage you to browse the volunteer opportunities. They are there for you. This is like a shopping cart. Katie, I'm going to use that word. It's like, I was raised with the Sears catalog. Now it's Amazon, and this is your online shopping cart for volunteers as well. So
yeah, I've been doing my shopping on this site, and it's really easy to register, super easy to register, and enter what you're interested in. It just feeds you. So yeah, it's your grocery cart. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it.
Yep. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us this evening. I hope you leave here tonight with some thoughts about how you can volunteer or how you can look for volunteers. And we will look forward to seeing everybody on June 22nd again at 5 p.m. And looking forward to seeing all these faces back again. And take care.
And I just want to acknowledge as we close off, just seeing all the wonderful people that have already noted that they've registered since we've been online.
Yes.
That's fabulous. Yes. We're excited to see those numbers, Katie. Yes.
Yeah.
So all the best, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time to join us this evening, and we look forward to seeing you on June the 22nd.